And we're live.
Hello.
Hello. Oh my goodness. I am so excited for today's show. First of all, guys, you are getting 3 sassy ladies in one interview. So get ready for the ride. This is Rocket Fuel. As a reminder, I'm the founder. My name is Wanda Toro Turini. I'm the founder of the Rocket Fuel community. And what we do is unite entrepreneurs who love to execute with excellence, who are prioritizing visibility, right? And recognize that that is the way that they can boost the impact in the world, right? And so these expert spotlight interviews are our opportunity, my opportunity to highlight our members, to feature them and to help them show other entrepreneurs and their prospective clients how they are #Rocket Fuel to people's businesses and people's lives. So I want to welcome today the amazing STEFANIE Lethbridge. Lethbridge. Lethbridge, woohoo! And Chelsea Rolph. They are the co-founders of CS Planners, and they're going to share their really amazing journey in kind of tumbling into solopreneurship, although there's 2 of you now, but you're kind of like one unit. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now the thing is why I want people to really hold on and listen to this story is because you have been in business. Have you hit the 2-year mark yet?
I think just 2 years. Just 2 years.
Just 2 years. And they have over 5,000 students, over 5,000 businesses or striving businesses that are being impacted by your work. And I want to congratulate you for that because that's freaking incredible, ladies.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about it.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So tell me how you started off on this journey. Like, why did you even start your own business?
So I started when I was on maternity leave, and I decided to take an extended maternity leave. But the problem is I didn't have any income coming in. Right. So, and I knew I had to, yeah, exactly. Right. I needed more income coming in. So I took what I was already good at, which was social media. And I started offering virtual assistants as a social media management. So, and as a writer as well. So I realized I was able to get clients right away. I had my first client within the first week of launching. Within the first 6 months, I was easily able to make more than my corporate job. And that's where I discovered my love for marketing. Because I absolutely love marketing. I realized that is my passion, but I felt pressured to still go back to work because everybody said you had to go back to the 9-to-5 job to be happy. And I was confused. So I did end up going back to my full-time corporate job. And I was still managing this side business, which I made more and I had to work less hours, but I still decided to go back.
It's crazy. Like it's like this traditional mindset of like, no, but you have to have a job. Like you're nuts if you don't have the job. So now you're like busting your butt doing both things and you're actually doing really well, not in the job. Can you explain what was your job? What did you do before, that you were taking maternity leave from?
I was an event planner and I planned anywhere from like Canada's Wonderland events, Canada's largest prom events. So anywhere from like 15 people to like over 900. And we would like together, Chelsea and I, we have ran over 400 events. And event planning is an industry that you have to be, I feel like we worked a lot of 12+ hour days. So going from a time when I could make more working significantly less hours to
that's a tough decision. It's a tough decision.
But I still went back, which I went back because I felt pressured. Like I felt pressured to be like, everybody said I would regret it if I didn't go back. And I listened to them, but I still kept on to my side business because I realized it didn't take a lot of time. But that's when Chelsea came in. And she really helped me manage it all, because I went to her and I'm like, Chelsea, I am struggling. I'm trying to manage a baby who's up at night, right? Like she was up all night at that time. And I have this side business that I'm like, I'm making like over double an hour, and I want that to be my thing. And I just need to balance it all. I'm just struggling right now. I don't have the courage or confidence yet to quit this full-time job, because I was working there for 5 years. It was my passion for a really long time, this other full-time job. So I had a hard time leaving it.
Yeah.
But then as we got working together, we realized that and she realized, you can go over this, Chelsea, but she realized that she really loved it.
Yeah.
So for me, Steph and I, we did work together, but we didn't have the same job. So Steph focused on like those outings to get to know Canada a bit more. And I focused on a lot of fundraisers and supporting the community and connecting people with local organizations. And so we did a lot of the same job, but complementary, but not the same. So I've, again, also loved my job. I had the opportunity to go to New York to be in the United Nations headquarters. I got to go to Ecuador and spend 10 days in the Amazon rainforest. Like, I've had so many incredible opportunities there, but I got to a point where I was burning out. And it was like, I've literally given everything I can to this. I now feel like what I'm doing is just the same thing over and over again. And I started looking for other jobs, but then Steph came back, and she was stressed and was like, I don't know what to do. And even just by listening to her, it was just like, Steph, you don't want to be here, so why are you? And she's like, I just have that need, but I don't want to be here. And she was trying to navigate that. So in that time, I was like, you know what, I'll help. I have extra time. Let me do whatever I can to support you until you're ready to make a decision on what you want to do. But then by doing that, I learned that I also loved it.
Wait a second. Yeah. Well, I mean, so I want to say what an amazing like karmic sort of like connection to be able to have that, because so many people really just jump out on their own. So I think what's really important here is, Stephanie, you started off as that solopreneur. Amazing to be able to immediately, I think what's really important, me being in business for over 15 years now, but to recognize really fast that you need help. Okay. And I want to point that out to the audience, because I feel like I failed at that really early on, right? There are people, I came from a corporate environment, right? So there are folks that are kind of like, oh, I'm in corporate. I kind of know all these things and I could figure it out myself. And for some reason, like we have this mentality that it's a failure to actually reach out for help, right? So I'm looking at your choice. That was a catalyst, Stephanie, like to be able to know, like, this is working out well. I need some help fast. That was like fire right there. And then obviously to be able to have access and know somebody that you felt was really connected. That's great. I just want to point out a comment here that came up, ditching the 9-to-5 mentality can be a struggle. So can you tell me, sure, there's the money thing, like, hey, I am making money, but then there's all like the wonderful opportunities with this 9-to-5 job. How did you ultimately kind of decide? What was your process in deciding to move away from that 9-to-5?
So for me, a lot of it, because I loved my 9-to-5 job, I got to go and get paid to go on trips, and it was incredible. I had so many opportunities and I did love it. But the thing for me is when I knew, after I had my daughter, I realized that I really started looking at what do I want and started visualizing what does in 10, 15 years from now, what does my life look like? And for me, it didn't look like working, 12 to 15 hour days, like 5 to 7 days a week. I feel like at that point, it meant being able to spend more time with my family. It meant being able to travel. It meant I was able to work from home and have her at home with me. And I feel like when you really start to look at what you want in the future, what exactly do you want? And then you can start thinking, okay, is my 9-to-5 job in there? In the what do I want? And if it's not, which for me, it wasn't, I realized this is my plan. I know I needed to have the courage to be able to quit my 9-to-5 job, because that's another thing, right? Having that courage to be able to quit it. And once you realize that, then I feel like it's incredible, because when you take that, it's like you feel free. It's like you realize, like, you can do absolutely anything. And right now I have my daughter here. She's full-time. I'm able to work on my business full-time too. And that is exactly what I wanted. So I feel like you looking at what you want is incredible when you're making that decision.
Yeah.
I also feel like for myself, it's similar, but also different. So I don't have children, but my partner is from France. So for us, it's like I only get 2 weeks vacation out of an entire year. I'm working 6 days a week. I'm not getting paid well enough that I don't even know if I'll be able to buy a home in the future. And also, I was getting so burnt out because I cared so much that my health started going bad. So my blood pressure, I was 27, was through the roof, that my doctor's like, you need to go on stress leave because you might have a heart attack at the age of 27. And
wow.
I remember that moment. I came back to work and I had a conversation. I talked to Steph first to be like, so this is what happened at the doctor's, because we always do that. Yeah, exactly. And then so I go tell my managers, because I was very open with them. I was very honest of everything that I was feeling. We really felt like a family there. And so I was telling them about how my doctor wants me to go on stress leave. And they gave me a look of like, you're not going to do that though, right? Because I had one of my massive events coming up that I think they started panicking of like, but you can't go. And then at that moment, it was like, yes, I'm burnt out. I'm exhausted. I'm not making enough money. And now this place that I cared so much about clearly doesn't care about me at all. Like,
exactly.
They don't care about my health.
Yeah, like fast forward through the heart attack thing. But are you going to be there for our event?
You're so good for this weekend, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna work an next 12 hours on top of your already full-time hours. Perfect.
Yeah.
And also, I had that fantasy. So my partner's the producer, a music producer and DJ. So in my world, I'm like, you know what? He's just going to make it rich and then I'm going to quit. And he's the one who also said, he's like, why don't you find something that you like and work on that? And then when Steph, like everything just aligned perfectly. And I interviewed for jobs, but I felt like the universe was really, they wanted Steph and I to be together.
Yeah.
Like everything just worked out. We found what we loved and we went for it.
Well, exactly. And the thing is actually opening yourself up to that opportunity. So that mindset shift, I really feel, helps you to start attracting opportunity. And I want to reinforce this whole, what do you want aspect of it. Not only does it serve people who are kind of, struggling in that process, but it also kind of reflects on how the unique perspective that you both have when you are serving your clientele. You both understand what that struggle is. And I think what's really powerful is you both have actually two very different perspectives or things that you wanted, right? But the underlying thing is that you have to sit with that. And when we have society and I don't want to say it in a negative way, right? It's in a protective way, whether it's your family or what is comfortable within society. It just kind of says, well, yeah, this is what you do. You have your job, then you right? You retire from it. You have a pension or now 401k, whatever. And then there's something that doesn't sit right anymore. It's like, wait a second, I kind of checked off all those boxes. And what's really intriguing is you ladies are talking about the same situation as I was in. I wasn't unhappy. I just realized, I was in a corporate job at a pharmaceutical company making like deep 6 figures, right? And my accountant literally was like, are you sure you want to leave this job? This is nuts, right? But what happens is there's something inside of you that's saying like, all right, so I checked off those boxes, but how come I feel like there's something more, right? And sometimes we're not clear as to what that something more could be because we have all this static of what should be, what our parents did, what the people around us, our environment, all that stuff. You don't want to disappoint, right? You may have like, I'm sure, you know, your parents were like, woohoo, my gals are like traveling the world and doing, especially in event planning, right? It feels like glamorous. And, you know, as a marketer in the pharmaceutical industry, I was traveling all over the place, and what a blessing to be able to see all of that. And I do miss that, but now it's like, oh, that was important to me. I want to incorporate that as part of, you know, my business, but I don't want to not be there for my kids. That was a thing. Like when I left, I didn't have children, but I knew that at some point, when I had them, that I didn't want to be that high level executive that was, you know, flying all over the place, but their children were being, you know, raised by a nanny, and you saw them every once in a while. Right.
Exactly.
So it's interesting. And so I want to kind of throw that out there and saying, not all entrepreneurs start their business because they were misfits or because they were unhappy. You could say, hey, man, I was actually pretty good, but there's something missing. And there's an opportunity to kind of sit with that. And I didn't have that guidance. Like, I didn't know what it was. I just had to follow my gut at a certain point. And what was interesting is that in my situation, it's funny, Chelsea, that you had mentioned, you know, bringing it up to, you know, your boss and all that stuff. In my situation, I had like a mentor to be like groomed to be an executive. And I felt guilty because I was in this special program. And then I'm like, I'm sorry, but I've been dreaming of this and I would like to do it. And she said to me, I knew it all along. She was like, my job was to try and keep you here as long as possible. But it doesn't surprise me that you want to start your own business. So it's kind of interesting how sometimes other people see it and you're like, no.
Absolutely. And what's interesting too is for me and my job, they kept trying to sell me on it as well, to be like, you know what, even in the worst case scenario, when SARS came, everyone lost their job, but your job was secure. Because my job, I worked with the Ministry of Education as well. So they're like, you're the expert. They need to have your job. So in the worst case of a pandemic, you're safe. So why would you give all of this up?
Right.
And now that I left,
security is not the
they're
only
gone. Yeah, that just doesn't matter anymore. So it's just like, even they were trying to sell me in the worst case scenario. And I just loved it because the same person that told me that was the same person that was telling Steph, you know what? Everyone has that same feeling. You're going to be so much happier if you stay here. And I felt like the bad guy because I'm like, Steph, you don't want to be here. I know you're telling me you don't want to be here. So why? So like, I kind of felt like the bad guy in a way because I was like challenging these thoughts that I was now having. And it is a cultural thing as well, because here in North America, I feel like the American dream at one point was, you know, you get married, you have kids, you have that house, you have that 9-to-5 job. But I now have that part, and Steph and I are notorious people pleasers. Like we definitely are. But my significant other, he's from France, so he has that, you know, he's a stereotypical French man who's gonna call things out as he sees it. And he's just like, why are you doing this to yourself? You're exhausting yourself. You're burnt out. You're coming home. You have no energy, and you literally come home, have dinner, and you want to go to bed. And he's like, why are you saying yes to things that you don't care about? And it took me a while of him telling me that to be like, you're right. Like, why am I doing something that I don't feel in my gut is something that I should be doing? Something is pushing me out of here. And then when Steph had this opportunity, I'm like, this is it. This is it.
That was it. So, okay. So now you're doing the VA work. VA is virtual assistants, for those of you that don't know what VA work was. And VAs did not exist when I started my business. I was like, holy crap. Like literally when I started hearing about virtual assistants, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. So I feel like I'm like super aging myself, but really I feel like, well, back then, you know, it's not, but things have really changed in the sense that, you know, VAs are rocket fuel for businesses when you start realizing like, okay, I could get support in some of these areas so I can stay in my zone of genius, right? So now you're in the VA world, but you've kind of like morphed a little bit. And so tell me about that transition.
Yeah. So once we had enough clients as VA clients to be able to quit our full-time jobs. We did that within a month, and then after we left, this was before COVID, right? So COVID impacted us. So we had enough clients. We both quit our full-time jobs, and then COVID hit, which was a huge impact because that means a lot of businesses were impacted, right? So then that also pivoted what we did, because we're like, hey, we realized that's when I look back, I'm like, hey, I am really good at marketing. And that's when we realized we discovered my passion for helping other people, because I was connecting with so many people, and they'd be like, hey, I really need a job. They needed the motivation. And it was almost like a natural switch based on our passion, because we are incredibly passionate about helping other people. And we're like, Chelsea and I, we're like, we have to go follow our passion, which is helping other people, because we know how to do it. We know how to quit our full-time jobs, and we need to teach other people. If that's what they want, we want to provide them with the marketing and mindset tools that they need in order to be successful. And then when we did, that's when a whole nother shift happened, when we were able to get, I think, over 4,400 students in 4 days. And it just like completely expanded in a completely different way.
So tell me, so when you have the students too, and well, Chelsea, add to that, and then I'm going to ask more about the student situation, but definitely.
Yeah, I think it was important because especially when it first came, a lot of people did kind of pause. They're like, I don't know what's going on in the world right now, so let's pause. And I felt like that was the perfect moment for Steph and I to actually do some self-reflection and be like, so what do we love the most about what we do, and what do we not like? And then we started making those shifts. And immediately as we started exploring ourselves and our passions and growing, we started attracting more and more people. So for us, it was like, we need to keep going with this. One, we're loving what we're doing even more. And we worked with people who were going through this program, and they were told, you need to do this, and then you'll be successful. And when they were doing those steps and they weren't getting the results they wanted, they were told that, well, you're the failure. It's your mindset. So you did something wrong. And then they're coming to us being like, they're telling me I'm a failure. So then we were working them through that mindset to be like, no, you're not getting the results they promised you, but basically they're catering towards these people who already have thousands of followers. You're starting off brand new, and you're not going to get the same results as these other people. So we started working on.
They weren't picking like the right tools and such. Yeah,
exactly. So then that's when Steph and I really started. I love mindset, and I love talking people through their own thoughts, because I'm a person that I naturally have my own conversations in my head. So I feel like that's always been a natural thing for me. So when people are telling me theirs, I just ask the questions that my head's telling me. And then with Steph's giving them other marketing tips, being like, you know what, based on your business and what you like and what you're comfortable with, maybe you should try this. So that's when we started combining both of our passions into one. And we really found that once that happened, we were able to help so many more businesses grow so much faster.
Wow. So this is how you created this solopreneur growth model, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of, so you kind of merged, okay, well, you feel like people needed tools, and then people needed mindset, and let's basically take people and guide people through the journey that we went through in kind of starting our thing. And it's perfect timing, because now COVID hit and people are really like, what do I do? And lost.
Exactly. And I feel like because of our experience as virtual assistants, we worked with some incredible top businesses. So we were able to really study from different industries, from authors, coaches, photographers, nutritionists. So we were really able to study how they did it. We had the inside scoop to all these businesses. And we realized that each one of them kind of followed the same kind of system in order to get to where they are, which is how we created the Solopreneur Growth Model, because it allows people as a starting point where to start and how to grow from nothing into a business that they absolutely love and are proud of.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, because it allows people to understand that there is a formula. And I think the huge benefit now is when I, oh my goodness, I keep on, when I reflect back, sorry, I'm just noticing like why I'm saying this so much, but it is true. I was not aware of coaches, models, formulas, blueprints for success, right? So it was a very tumultuous process in the beginning, and going from a corporate mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset is really different. And to unlearn that is like really, really tough. So it's really important to have somebody else say, hey, guess what? You're a successful person. You were a successful person in that world, right? Now let's bring you into this world. It's different. It's a different game, but let's give you the roadmap. Let's give you the playbook for this game so that you could apply that hardworking, hustling mentality, all of these things, but within this framework. And that's really, really important. So it's great for you to put all of that together because it truly is rocket fuel. It's a huge, huge accelerator for folks. So tell us, how is it that you got, what you said, 4,400 students? I was going to say patients. 4,400 students within such a short period of time. Can you walk us through that process?
Yeah. So when we take, like, the Solopreneur Growth Model really goes in stages. And the first one is mindset. But when you, in order to get 40, like that, those kind of results, it's really taking that we did it through the Solopreneur Growth Model. So it starts with mindset. The next one is person to person, and it's connecting with people on a personal level. And the next one after that is person to group. And that's when you're just like we're doing now, right? We're talking to a group, an audience. And the very last stage is person to funnel. And in that stage, the very last stage is when you can get incredible results really, really, really quickly. That's how we got 4,400 course enrollments in 4 days, because it allows you essentially to get that, what people talk about, that they don't really share the secrets on how, is that overnight success, on how you can, when you're sleeping, you wake up. And I feel like that is so important, because, and going through each of those stages allows you to get that success.
Excellent.
Yeah,
excellent.
Absolutely.
And so Chelsea, you guys basically were saying, look, this is the model that we've learned. This is the model that we used. And so for 4,400, were you sending people to a funnel first, or how, like, talk about your specific journey? Yeah.
So we already went through, we were on the last stage of the growth model, which was the person to funnel, which means that we already set up the foundation of our business and everything. The very last stage was sending them through a sales funnel. So, which is the reason why I love sales funnels is because it automatically leads people into the customer journey. Once you have it set up, then it does the work for you, which is why it's so important. But I really think that each of these stages of the Solopreneur Growth Model is so important, because then when you get to the last one, that is how you get the success that you want. It will happen immediately. But if you were to jump to the last stage of the Solopreneur Growth Model, then it doesn't always work, which is why people struggle. And I was here. I remember being a new like entrepreneur thinking I need to jump into sales funnels. I remember thinking that, but
yes,
there's some foundations and stuff that in order for it to work, and we have a 70% conversion rate, we have a really, really high conversion rate. So in order to get that level of success, I feel like really following this. And also what I love about our model too that we created is it allows you to get clients right away. So you can begin to get working on getting your clients right away while continuously building, which is why we created that.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, because when you dive right into a funnel, then you haven't had the experience of actually speaking to people, seeing what works, what doesn't work, kind of testing your message and such. So you really need to put that time. But there's just so much talk and energy around funnels, and people feel like they just have to dive right into it, and then it just goes. Now, how did you actually get your traffic to your funnel? So once you knew my funnel is converting really well because I've tested the messaging, person to person, person to group. Now I have my funnel. What was your efficient way of getting people to that funnel?
So when you go through the person to person and person to group, you're actually creating the foundation to your funnel. So when you get to that funnel, you already have the awareness already set up, which is the hardest for new entrepreneurs is the awareness stage of the funnel. So person to person is connecting with people on a person one-on-one level. Person to group is you are announcing to a group, you're having those collaborations, you're posting on social media, all the branding, you're out selling your competition. When you go through those stages, by the time you get to the funnel, all the rest of the funnel will be so much easier.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they struggle with the awareness. See, that is by far the number one thing that people struggle with, by far. But in this model we created, by the time you do that, that's why it's so successful, is because when you get to that stage, you already have the hardest part figured out. It's literally just creating your funnel and then watching it. That's why I feel like it's incredible. It really works. And it's really exciting being able to help so many people with it too.
I think the order is very, very important. I think that's really, really important to do. And also the fact that, my focus is really on helping folks be visible and optimize that visibility, right? What's great is speaking opportunities, whether it's interviewing like this or actually giving talks or just doing a lot of Facebook Lives, LinkedIn Lives, right? Because it helps people understand who you are as a person and just align whether they like your style, right? Your style, your story, et cetera. And then also trust that you know what you're talking about. So when you're creating that group, it's really powerful because you get to do that when you're nurturing. I mean, those like warm people are getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Then you introduce your funnel and voila, like that's how you get that 70% conversion, which is magic. So when somebody goes through the Solopreneur Growth Model, how long is the journey typically for them?
So we do have a program that right now it's a 3-month program, and I feel
16 weeks. Sorry.
16 weeks. Sorry. Yeah. 16-week program, and we automatically take them through the journey in 16 weeks. So it's an incredible journey right from starting to end. And I feel like it's so exciting because every single week we have videos and everything already laid out, and we naturally take them without being like too overwhelmed. We take them week at a time through the Solopreneur Growth Model because it's so overwhelming starting a new business. And I remember feeling like that when I was on maternity leave. I remember feeling lost. I remember feeling not knowing where to start. I didn't even know what my passion was at first. That's why I feel like we created this program to inspire others.
Yeah. And for me, so the mindset component, we actually refer to it as the person to self, because we feel like you need to have those conversations with yourself. And there's people who they want to grow their business and they're like, okay, well, I'm ready to set up a funnel. And we're like, okay, when are you going live on Facebook? And they're like, well, I don't want to do that. And so we really walk them through, getting comfortable being in front of a camera. That is how you grow your business. So that's why we love the person to self, because that sets you up. And we do time on there because you need to be mentally prepared for this entrepreneurial journey you're going to go on. And also what I love is that it's I consider it like the home base. You can always go, but you always come back. But when you go and you're kind of getting scared, you don't know what your next step is, or you're overwhelmed, you come back home. And then you can continue to grow and build whenever you're ready. And I also love it because the way we have it designed is not, you have to do this, you have to do this. We give you so many ideas and tools that you find what works best for you, but you do that by following this guideline. And we found that when we took courses and people said, you have to do this, you have to do this, it didn't align with who we were as people, that it was just like, I believe that will work, but I don't feel like that's what is best for me.
Yeah. And so what happens in some of that, then you feel like a failure because it's like, why doesn't it fit for me? But it's not exact for everybody. So it's really valuable to kind of say the foundations are here, but it might take some people a little longer to do the person to self, right? Or to do the person to group. Like all of that is a person's own journey, but
Exactly.
the roadmap, the path is there. So as we're talking, oh my gosh, there's so much, but I wanted to get to the point that to explain to folks that with this model you offer templates and tools, because you were so generous to offer some of those tools to our audience, just so that they could kind of experience what that looks like. So I'm going to share our catchword here. So for this particular episode, you could text RF-104 to 411321 if you're in the US, right? And I'm going to share the international code in a moment. But when you text, you're going to receive the episode show notes. So that kind of gives a summary of their story. I'm going to show you here, like, it's lots of like nice goodies here. But what's great is I view this as kind of like your Rolodex, right? So in trying to connect to other experts, like, print this out, download it, so that you know, like, hey, if I want this type of support, or if your clients could use this type of support, right, then you have their backstory and their information here. So that's really valuable. But our guests also provide a special gift, and you guys provided this really cool, I'm like in a small thing, elevator pitch template. And I mean, it's one of many tools that you offer, but tell me about why you chose that as something that would be good to share.
Yeah, so I feel like the elevator pitch is often where people get stuck, and it's an incredible way for you to start making money and start getting clients right away. So, and I feel like that's what people want. They want to see the results right away, and the elevator pitch is really the key in order to make that happen. So I want to see people getting those clients, increasing their leads or connections. And I feel like the elevator pitch template is incredible way for you to do that.
Yes.
And for people who don't know what an elevator pitch is, because I was one of them, which is why it's so interesting, because Steph talks about all these things. I'm like, what does that mean? So that's
which is
why
actually a really great combination, because what happens is experts tend to speak in their jargon, but it may not necessarily be where their ideal prospect is. So that's a fantastic like combo to have. So tell us, Chelsea, what's your
exactly? Yeah. So when she told me about an elevator pitch, because I asked, like, how did you find all these clients and these opportunities? She's like, well, I just had a great elevator pitch. I'm like, I don't know what that means. So basically, it's like that sentence or a few sentences that captures the attention of people that you're trying to bring into your business. And the way I explain it to people is, if you ever see Shark Tank, or in Canada we have Dragon's Den, people walk in and there's a group of investors and they have to do a presentation, and you don't want it to go on forever because they're going to get bored. You want to give them the most amount of information that you think is most valuable to them, for them. And if you watch those shows, you'll see people go in who have really good elevator pitches. They're able to sell their business within a short period of time. And that's how they grow. But then there's people who go in, they don't know what they're doing. They're just talking. They're just trying to give all this information, and it seems like a mess. And that's when people get confused and people don't want to invest. So that's how I explain it to people, of that elevator pitch. And you need this ultimately for all stages. If you're trying to get that first client through that person-to-person method, you still need this elevator pitch. If you're doing the group, you still need the elevator pitch. It's just, I feel like that's one of the baseline things you need in order for you to succeed and grow your business.
Yeah. And so I think it's a great starting point, because it's not really a starting, it's wherever you are in your business, refining that elevator pitch. I call it, in our world, we call it our service-driven introduction, right? Because I like people to kind of really focus on how is it that you help people. And you guys know, when I was looking through the template, you've captured that, right? It's not about, oh, I am a CPA, I'm a plumber, I'm a painter. It's like, actually, how do you help others, and what's unique about that? And so you've really captured that in this template. I feel like there's an opportunity to refine that throughout your entire journey as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
So awesome. And the other thing, actually, you kind of snuck in an extra gift in here, right? So you have the official elevator pitch. I'm trying to find that. But then you also couldn't resist offering what was it? Is it your niche workbook or what was it? I'm trying to find it here amongst the
Yes.
awesomeness. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the niche workbook I also included too because it goes hand in hand with the elevator pitch. I feel like they kind of complement each other because if you really want to have an amazing elevator pitch, you need to be clear about your audience and just like you said, really getting clear on how you help people and what problem do you solve and really getting clear about that. And I feel like the reason why I snuck that one in too is because that allowed it really, once you figure that out, who you're targeting, how you help people, your elevator pitch becomes so much easier.
Yeah, and this is really interesting because there's the concept of like niching down is a little bit scary for some folks because they feel like they're missing out on opportunity. So tell me, why would somebody kind of laser focus a little area, right? Because there's so many more people that they can help. Tell us about that.
I love talking about this because again, I don't have that marketing background. So I remember Steph saying, we really narrow down what we're talking about. So let's start talking about that. And I was like, why, Steph? Like, we just help anybody who wants to start a business. And I didn't have that marketing background, but as soon as we did, I trust Steph 100% with my life. So if she says we need to do this, we're doing it. Like, so she's like, okay, no, we need to narrow it down. So as soon as we did that, we started realizing, who do we attract the most? Who do we connect with the most? Who has naturally been drawn to us? And how do we write and who would we relate to? And as soon as we were able to really narrow down our audience, we were able to write and post and do everything that really attracts that audience. And that's really when we started noticing a difference.
Exactly, because you think about it, it's impossible for everybody to be good at everything, right? So, but you can be, when you're good at something, you can own it and be the expert in that. And people trust that. Your messaging becomes so much clearer with every single post from social media, your websites, every time you talk, you can have that same message. It gets so much clearer. Your marketing, I feel like, and all your marketing strategies make so much more sense when you have that.
Yeah. I think the idea of saying, but I can help everybody, actually kind of makes nobody respond, right? Because they feel like you're not really talking to them in particular. And I think one thing that can really accelerate somebody's growth is to recognize that very often they are their avatar, right? They are their ideal prospect. And if you realize, like, I just need to speak to more people like me, right? I need to use the language that I would have used when I was first looking for the opportunity, and stop trying to be the person for everybody. Because what happens is you start kind of changing how you behave and who you are, because you feel like you want to serve a larger amount of people. And then what happens is it kind of like blands you out, right? You're not your true authentic self. And actually recently, Chelsea, I saw that you put out a video about that and being your authentic self. So tell me about your journey. What prompted you to share that video?
Yeah. So as I said, Steph and I are notorious people pleasers. So we grew up our entire life we had a hard time saying no to people.
Yeah.
And I know when we started our business and we fully left as virtual assistants, I remember putting on that hat, being that person that I thought our client needed us to be. And I would do it. And then at the end of the day, I was exhausted. And if they were to message us to say, hey, I need this, it just seemed like so much extra work, put that hat back on, step back into that role and do it for them. But as soon as we started realizing, you know what, we just need to be ourselves, that's when we started attracting the attention of the people who were open-minded. Sometimes I swear in things, especially when I get really heated and passionate, it flips out. And I know for some people, it's like, no, don't do that at all. And that always scared me. But now it's just like, if I'm heated and I'm in that moment and we're not angry people. So I don't mean heated in an angry way.
You're passionate. Yeah.
It's just like, oh my gosh. I found when I was doing videos like that, that's when people were more drawn to us, because they're like, you're real. You're an actual human being. You're not a robot. And for me, I was the youngest in my family. I was the one they referred to me as Cinderella. Like, I was the one that always doing things for other people. And I didn't know what my passions were because I never took that opportunity to figure out who I was. And it was by doing entrepreneurial journey. And we do have a new YouTube channel that we just started this year. But I love it. But I found when I was filming that video, it was so important for me to reintroduce who I was to even my friends and family. And now my friends and family watch and they're like, good for you. And before it was always a secret because I'm like, I don't want them to know who I am. I don't even know who I am. But now it's like I show up and they're like, I mean, the COVID, I don't see them, but like in video chats, they're like, Kelsey, like, what's going on? You're always this quiet person that just, you sat there.
I'm tired of that.
Yeah, like, because I didn't know who I was, and I didn't know. I was always a person that would sit in a room and be like, okay, I'm going to observe their behavior and figure out how I'm supposed to act in order to fit in. And then as soon as I let that go, I feel just so much happier. I feel more relaxed. I'm more confident because it's just like, this is who I am. Love it or hate it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I want to ask the audience. I mean, usually I'm asking people to comment and I'm just so engaged that I'm not asking, but have you guys felt that where it just takes so much work to be the person that other people or you feel other people expect you to be? First of all, sometimes it's kind of like in our head of like what is expected. But then when you're in a work situation, then, the work environment kind of tells you how it is that you should be, interacting. I remember, when I was in a conservative, like corporate environment, I actually put my hair back, but for other reasons. Here now, it's so I can be like crazy and woohoo. But when I was in that environment, I would never or hardly ever wear my hair down flowing. I always had it up because it would make me look more serious and older. And I had a theater background. I had to like really kind of calm that down because you could be like super passionate and be like, oh shit, that's awesome. And it's like, everybody's like, oh, how dare you? But that's freaking exhausting. It's really exhausting. And then you come out into the world and you have the opportunity as an entrepreneur to actually create the business that works for you. And when you're in that comfort zone, then you're going to like the energy wavelength, like you're going to be vibing the right way. And then people that are on that same wavelength, they're going to be like, yeah, this feels good. This feels good. And
it really makes a huge difference. I feel like when I wasn't like authentically myself, I was just exhausted, tired all the time. Mm-hmm. I feel like that was the main reason why my energy was tired, because it does take a lot of energy to be someone that you're not.
Yes.
Right? Like it takes so much energy out of you. But when you create a business where you're authentically yourself, everything just happens so naturally. You're not having that take on and off that hat consistently because you're just you. You have so much more energy. I have more energy now than I've ever had, and I have it like, and I'm busier now than I've ever.
I was going to say, and you need it, right? Because it's like now you're like balancing everything, and what happens is like when you're super passionate, all of a sudden those long hours, you're like, holy crap, what time is it? Like I've been like, and then you have the other problem of actually saying, okay, I need to cut my hours because guess what? I do want to do all those other things that I had said I wanted to do before, but you're stuck in like your passion zone there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that was actually something we've been learning because, Steph and I, we found a way that worked for us, and we were getting busy, and it's just like, well, I don't have time for this because I want to do this. And we started a business to have that freedom so we can have our dream life. But now we're getting so busy that we're not even fostering those things that we actually wanted. So that goes with, when it's time to start hiring people, when you're at that point where you're like, you know what, it's tough to let things go sometimes, but again, you have to realize why you're doing it. And for me, it was for that freedom. I want to travel. I want to spend time with family. I don't want to be working nonstop. With having kids too, like you want that. And I feel like it is tough to give up that control, but you also ultimately need to think of why you started in the first place and then start allowing those extra supports.
Yeah. And for those who may actually be starting their entrepreneurial journey later in life, it's also the idea of creating systems so that you can quote unquote retire if you desire to do that, right? I mean, you don't want to get stuck where like, okay, so I'm my only source of income. Like if I stop working, then the faucet gets shut off, right? And then at a certain point, you're going to want to stop. Hey, maybe it's at age 85, but wouldn't it be nice to actually have the choice, right? To have the choice of when you want to stop or when you want to kind of slow it down a little bit. And it's systems and process and modeling that helps you get there.
Exactly, because life is too short. You should be able to live your life right now with whatever age you're at. And I feel like I really learned that because my son passed away 5 years ago, and he really taught me, he is a huge reason and why I started, because he taught me that life is too short. So and to not take risks, to not be there, and to not like live your dream life, because you shouldn't be waiting just for, to retire, waiting for all these things. You can start living your dream life right now, no matter what age you are, no matter what stage you're at, you can do it. And think about your why, because that's honestly like my daughter is like my why. She is like my everything. I was told that I couldn't have her. And I'm even now, like I was told I can't have kids, yet I have a 3-year-old. So I feel like it's so important for me to share that, because impossible, like medically, it's impossible for me to have kids. And it's possible because I have a 3-year-old right now. So what people say is impossible is actually, in fact, possible, because I am living medically. I cannot have kids. Actually, I can't have kids, and it is possible. So I feel like no matter what your goals, no matter what your dreams are, know that it is possible.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I just want to share as well. I was in the same position, and because of my entrepreneurial journey and being able to profit from that, invest, take the time to go on a fertility journey, which was really crazy. But at 45 and 49, I have a 5-year-old and an 8-month-old, and that's super late. Thank you very much. But it is important for, to think like this is what is important. And when it's here, like for me, it's like, holy shit, I worked really, really hard to get this. Exactly. I am not going to let this business drive me into the ground and take me away from the things that I wanted when I started this to begin with, right? When I dreamed about like what those children will be. So that's really important. And I think, thank you so much for sharing that, because it's really important for people to kind of reframe, stop wasting time.
Exactly.
And figure out now how you can do things better and more efficiently and still prioritize the things that are important to you. Because for way too long, I have experienced saying, okay, well, I will do this later, but I really need to focus on my business and hustle. And there's this, to me, it's kind of a little bit of an old school mentality of hustling in business. I feel like there's a whole generation of folks saying like, bullshit. No, I want to like live my life and do my work. It's together. It's not the balance of work life. It's like, it's life.
Yeah, that was my thing. I know someone kept saying to me, they're like, you don't live to work. Like, we want you to work to live. And I think COVID's been a blessing because it's given us that time to really focus without having those distractions. Because in the beginning, it is a lot of work. You're trying new things, you're pushing hard. And there was a time where I didn't see family and friends pre-COVID for a few months because Steph and I were working so hard with balancing that full-time job. Steph was also a mom. We were working hard, and that is an important step, but I also know what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for the long run. So I'm going through this season right now where I need to my ass and do whatever I need to, but I'm setting myself up for future success so I can just live my dream life.
Yeah. And so that's super important. What I would say is one of the most powerful things is being able to very early in your process, as soon as possible. And if you're not doing it now as an entrepreneur, connect to community. And also connect to experts, right? There are folks out there that are going to be able to really, really accelerate. And that is kind of one of my purposes and missions with Rocket Fuel, because in reflecting back, I feel like I'm very happy with where I'm going and where I've been and where I'm going. But I do struggle with feeling like it took me too long to get here. Right. And it literally took me 10 years, I believe, to find community. Right. So for 10 years, I'm by myself being like, because, in most cases, your family members, your friends, they're not entrepreneurs, and they'll say things lovingly, but that really discourage you. Right. So you need to be around other people that are going through the same thing, that can say, yeah, you know what, my sister said the same thing or whatever, but it's okay. Let's kind of guide you through that together. So you guys have really put together a magical combination of community, of structure, the mindset, the roadmap. And I want to congratulate you. And clearly the market is congratulating you.
Thank you.
Right? By signing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we do. We try to build that community there, because I've been through the same thing. I've talked to somebody and be like, I need to talk to Steph. She's going to put me back on track, because now I started downplaying the potential success I can have. So we do agree that community is important, which is why we do also have this program, so people can connect with people going through the same things.
Awesome. So I want to remind folks to get an appetizer of what it is that you guys do. So text RF-104. If you're in the US, you text that as the message to the number 411321. And you will receive our episode show notes, all the wonderful things, the links, and whatever. You'll get this wonderful kind of guide so that you can remember Stephanie and Chelsea when you need them. Or when you come upon another entrepreneur that you feel could really, really utilize that. I want to share the international number as well. I know you guys are in Canada, so hopefully all of your Canadian colleagues as well will say, wait a second, I need to tap into this. So text RF-104 to the 1-909-741-1321. That's also for Sprint US people, because I don't know if Sprint is a little for some reason, but anybody could text it to that. But ladies, I want to thank you so much for sharing your stories, your perspective. It's clear why you ladies are #Rocket Fuel.
Thank you.
And I feel honored to be able to have told your story and hopefully bring you more wonderful clients that need your help so you can accelerate their growth.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Bye, guys. If you're watching the replay, put in #replay. Remember to text and join us next week for another Expert Spotlight. Bye.